The lady with the gun shop. The lady with the gun shop says we need to call the meeting to order. All right, it's 11:13 on November 21st, 2025. We are past the November elections. And November 4th. And we're past the November 18th runoffs. And we do have a little bit of good news. Fountain Inn flipped their seat. Hey. Ron and Shan were working on that. And Jerry Tussaud, who's wanting to make the grand entrance, is the big win for the runoff. He crushed it. Speak loudly, but he crushed it on Tuesday night.
Let me tell you something. It couldn't have been done without the leadership of this organization and all of you that took care of it. And you made it work for me and for us. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody for putting in a lot of hard work, a lot of envelopes addressed and stamped and done stuff, and it was a lot of fun. So a lot of shoe leather, yes, a lot of sign waving, a lot of grief. I knew not much sleep. I knew we were doing good when the other side was getting extremely nasty in the runoffs, and you just kind of can see it. I don't know if they knew it or if nobody does any polling at that particular level. But when you start seeing people go low and say nasty things, spread lies, all that kind of stuff, I mean, and then pulling out all the other stops on endorsements and things like that. There was a lot of issues, and Simpsonville is a great example. They flipped 2 seats 2 years ago. Tim Pinker did it all on his own. He did a great job and won right out with his race, and he's on county council now from Simpsonville or city council. Chad O'Rear had a runoff 2 years ago. And we're having a fire alarm, and we are up to date on our fire extinguishers. So I will say that it is funny that when the fire department came here to check all of our fire extinguishers, and they literally, like, the whole crew, I think it was about 15 of them. I think they were really just curious to come in and see what was going on with all the Trump signs and stuff like that. They only needed 1 or 2 people to come check our fire extinguishers, and they said like 15. It was fun. But I think they get that emergency taken care of. But similar to what happened this year, we'll walk through it. Chad O'Rear came in second 2 years ago to somebody who was obviously, it was an open seat, but was obviously a liberal. The number 3 person in that race endorsed number 1. So we were up against all odds in that race. And then we got involved in the runoff and helped Chad and did some the things that we do. And Chad ended up winning, I think, by 7 or 7 votes in that runoff, which was like really almost a miracle for someone to have come in second and then get the endorsement of number 3 and then win the race. Now, that's exactly what happened this year, too. I don't know what the number 3 guy in this race was promised. But the number 3 guy, Jerry, did a lot better we did a lot better than we did 2 years ago. We're learning, we're improving, and we're making the processes and the data and everything else a whole lot better. But Jerry came in 20 votes shy of the first place, which was the incumbent. The third place guy was supposed to be somebody who wanted, allegedly, we thought, we weren't real sure, change. Or maybe he was a ringer to take votes away from people who would want change and might have voted for Jerry on the first race. He ended up endorsing number 1, Lou, and the incumbent. I don't know if they promised him something. I don't know, but I do know people that run in elections that are approached and are promised things. I don't know if it happened in this case, but it is an often talked about thing. So, I believe in telling people about it. So we had to work extra hard to make sure to overcome that, and even though Jerry fell short by 20 votes of making first in the original, he won this runoff with almost think we got almost as many people out for Jerry, but he won by 85 votes. So it was 87. Was it 87? Now turnout 4.17%.
Good.
Holy tamale, and that was literally why I have reached out to your opponent, because I would like to sit down, because his campaign did get pretty nasty. And what we believe here is we don't want to get nasty. We don't think we need to get nasty about this stuff. Telling somebody a voting record that the opponent had voted to kill was the determining vote to kill impact fees, that's fair game. But to sit there and make up lies and things, I mean, I got attacked more in this campaign than I think even Jerry got attacked. I'm like, what? Why are you coming after us? I mean, what do we do other than that we're supporting Jerry and getting out votes and trying to do stuff? But 4.17% voter turnout, you know what causes that? All the nastiness they see on social media. There's a big Simpsonville group or two Simpsonville groups down there. The administrators of those groups were blocking comments from Jerry or Jerry's campaign, blocking comments from other people. Well, lo and behold, Lou Hutchins himself was an admin on one of those two big groups. I don't know if Lou was doing it.
What do you know?
But it's kind of ironic. So, I mean, there's a lot of things like that we need to see. But I can see a lot of average. I like to project it or put myself in people's shoes. And when you're sitting there in other people's shoes, you see all this back and forth. And I don't know, Lou, Jerry, everybody see these people are nasty. We all get blanketed with, all sides are nasty. I try to correct that. I'm like, wait a second, what have we done? Show me one post or one nasty thing that we did. And if it's coming from our people, I will correct it. I will not say, I'll take that under advisement, which is what I got back from Lou and some of his people. But it's something, it's a small race. It is, I hate to say it's a small race because it's a very important race. It's a growing city in this county. And a lot of people have talked about Malden or certainly Malden and Simpsonville combined taking over, the city of Greenville. I mean, in size-wise, I mean, it's a possibility. So, it's growing even between, it was funny, I saw the eligible voters between the 4th and the 18th. I think it increased by 81 voters. Now, they must have signed up earlier because I think there's a 30-day window or whatnot. But that is 81 additional voters in a 14-day period in the city of Simpsonville. And that doesn't include the children and people who couldn't vote that may have moved into the city at that time too. So it's a growing city, and y'all have a lot of work to do to kind of manage that growth. And managing that growth is not just, avoiding impact fees and taxing the rest of the people that have been there for 20 years or longer or moved into old houses and all that kind of stuff. So, Jerry, congratulations, Councilman-elect. He's the honorable-elect. So we will have to start calling him Honorable Jerry Tuso here soon. So that's pretty exciting. But thank you for everybody for what they've done and getting out there. And I think
you, Jerry, for volunteering to do what he's doing.
that is the hardest part of all of this is getting somebody that will step up. And Jerry was willing to step up, and we thank you for that. So find some more people like yourself, Jerry. We need more, and we will. And then what we need to do right now, and we've reached out to some of our municipalities, is to plan for what we need to do 2 years from now. I couldn't have told you the composition of Simpsonville 2 years ago. I mean, Tim Pinkerton and Chad got in the race, and we kind of saw it late and said, what can we do? We at the party level have normally only focused on state stuff, tad bit on the federal, and more the county. And we worked really hard to flip the county last year because there's a lot of problems down there. But we need to be more involved in the municipalities, and I've told people we're going to do that. And we are doing that. So that's municipalities. That's also these fire commissions, soil and water, and public service commission, all that kind of stuff. And forestry. We'll have a forestry update. Somebody's on the forestry commission. But yeah, I mean that's we've got to get more involved in it, and especially boards and commissions. hopefully, I mean, it's nice on our legislative committee. We've got Tim Pinkerton as the representative from Somerville on our, not Somerville, Simpsonville. Sorry, born in Charleston, I'm hooked on Somerville, but Simpsonville, and and he comes on and lets us know what's going on. I think we need inside people that are on council, and then we need our outside people, and we really count on the inside people to tell us, kind of point us, in the right direction. And we need the outside people to make sure our inside people that are on council don't splinter off and start doing weird things, because that's what typically happens. So typically you will find that folks, grassroots, and that I consider us grassroots, we get people elected, and then we're like, oh, good, everything's fine, nothing else to look at here. But that's not the way it is. We have to do the pick and shovel work constantly. We have to get down and go to those meetings. Jerry said he went to 8 months worth of meetings. And he did say Monday was the first time his opponent, Lou Hutchins, voted against an annexation and a new development. So there was an annexation that was on the docket for they had their meeting on Wednesday. Normally it's on Tuesday, but they moved it for the election. And it was an annexation that was up there. And guess what? They decided not to annex it. I think it was 5-2. So the mayor and one other person voted against it, and our 3 people plus Lou and one other person voted against it. Yes, sir.
Hey, Jeff.
And speak loudly, because that was one of the discussion points. Our friends, if you're in this side of the annex, they can't hear you as much online.
So what was the mayor's recommendation for the congestion and traffic?
I did hear that his recommendation.
The skunk was there in the very first row.
I'm asking the question only to prompt you, and then whatever you say, you say.
Oh, you can.
You can say it. I wasn't actually there to witness it,
Well, you weren't there.
but
All right.
I did hear what he said.
Okay, so the Simpsonville mayor, I'm going to say his name, Mayor Shoemaker.
And he's up for a re-election
Yeah.
in 2 years.
He adamantly recommended, not even recommended, he almost demanded that parents put their kids on school buses
Rather than pick them up.
rather than pick them up and take them to school to solve the congestion issue, the traffic issue.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was
A school bus driving 35 miles an hour, 45
It's
is
not even
business.
a recommendation. He was
It was
yelling from the
yeah.
podium. Why won't you? It was really bad.
yeah.
I
So
don't think the mayor was happy with the runoff election results.
No, it
So
was not.
he was literally, when we were down there Tuesday night checking, the 4 voting locations, getting the numbers, so we felt confident of the numbers. The mayor was there. Chad was supposed to be meeting us at City Hall. I was just looking at the numbers on the hood of the truck. I just turned around and just started talking to this guy that walks up to us. I didn't realize it was the mayor. Same height as Chad, and kind of same semi-color hair. I said, "Oh yeah, Lou won," or I said, "Oh yeah, Jerry won," and it was the mayor, and he was like, he didn't look happy.
all right.
So I think he was not having a good week. But that doesn't mean we can't work with these people.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I that's why I reached out to Lou or Councilman Hutchins. Because why was he attacking us? Why is he calling us a radical group?
Yes.
Why is he
Yeah.
saying all these types of things?
We are.
And I know, and he's hearing the advice of people that that don't like us. But I'm like, they never talk to us. I mean, I had a big political consultant, statewide guy, the other day, text something to me, and he's like, these people that don't like you have never spoken to you. I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
But you know what? They don't want to speak to me because they don't want to know any better. I mean, we're cooperative. We understand things. We're not, the crazy radical right out there. And I love the first time I was ever referred to in the newspapers from the far right. I actually called the newspaper guys. I said, it's okay. I don't really mind. I'm just curious. Where did you come up with this? And the reporter literally apologized. He's like, well, I just pulled it out of another article I saw. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
we're not
I mean,
far right.
so it starts.
Just everyone else went left.
That's which is true. Which is true.
The other part of the issue is they don't want to be proven wrong on record.
They don't want to be proven wrong on record. You're right about that. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's, we need to end some of this contention and fighting. It's okay to have a disagreement and actually have, a heated conversation. I don't mind all that. But I mean, to make up absolute lies and say the things they do. I mean, the point. I mean, there was somebody on there saying that my wife, Olga, was a supporter of Bernie Sanders. I'm like, so of course Olga supports Jerry. Olga supports Bernie, so Jerry's a Bernie bro.
That was the argument against Jerry because the person he knows is Bernie support. Can you explain that so we don't?
And I will
spread
explain it.
that rumor?
And I will explain it. I'm actually going to write probably an article about it so I can just post and share it with people. When Bernie in 2016, Bernie was against Hillary. The night of the debate in Miami, it was Bernie and Hillary. Obviously, nobody wanted Hillary, and nobody thought anybody would vote for Bernie, right? So, but Bernie had the grassroots on the Democratic side, and he made the comment on there that his average donor was $27, and he had X numbers of millions. I'm like, I'll do that, and I just picked up my phone and said, "Oh, give me your credit card," and I used Olga's credit card. So that's why her name shows up and not Jeff Davis, which I never expected this would ever come back to haunt her. But she donated $27 to Bernie the night of the Miami election. Because what Bernie was trying to do was show that he had more grassroots support, which he did, and we obviously didn't like Hillary.
And fast forward, I put the picture
Yeah,
up.
look at
to
the
show
picture.
it
And then you
to
fast
the-
forward, what happened in 2020, we were instrumental in part of that Operation Chaos, which was here in South Carolina, because we did not have a Republican presidential preference primary, because they just automatically let President Trump through. And so we were getting Republicans out to vote for Bernie against Hillary. So I literally walked into a voting booth and said, I would like a Democratic ticket. And I had to go in and press a button for Bernie. Definitely the hardest thing, one of the hardest things I've had to do in politics.
They didn't take a picture.
I know. I've been waiting for it to show up. But Trump endorsed it.
Well, that being said,
with that-
continue the story. What happened?
With that being said, part of that when we promoted it, we went down to Columbia, and Presley talked on Fox and Friends, and we were all there at the Lizard's Thicket. Donald Trump, the man does literally sit around and watch Fox News. He really, really does. Saw Presley and called him that Sunday afterwards and thanked him for doing that with Operation Chaos and said, hey, I'm going to be in Charlotte. It was March.
No, we told him we're coming to Charlotte to see. Presley.
Yes, Presley told him that. And then he goes, and Trump.
So Trump said, if I can ever do anything for you guys in South Carolina, let me know. So Presley said, well, we're coming to see you in Charlotte tomorrow. We've never met you in person. Would it be possible for me and half of a dozen of my friends to come and meet you? He said, how about make it a dozen? So we got invited backstage in Charlotte to meet the president because of my donation.
It was our personal start in supporting Bernie. 2020, we supported Bernie more.
So you know what? I will do it all over again because that's how we met Trump.
Photoshop Bernie Sanders.
And I'll give you my donation to the arc around here is going to be the Chaos 2020 because I kept.
Yes.
And I was
Absolutely.
in that too.
Yes.
So.
And it is funny, and Scott did post it. I'd forgotten about those, but I do, as part of the article that we'll write, we'll put that in there because they were mailers. That wasn't mailed to you; it was just a postcard. But I mean, it was a big movement, and
One time we did what they always do.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I still have the
what they
flyer.
always exactly.
And I think I got the flyer. See, when I joined, I got the flyer at the lunch
Okay,
before.
did they have a lunch?
When I got involved in the party, that was when.
Right.
Yeah. So, and I was down there. I was at Charlotte. I just wasn't.
Oh, are you really?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sorry. I wish you could have come in place of
No.
another person we brought, which we shouldn't have. But no, I mean, it's, and quite frankly, closed primaries is going to get heated up more and more. I don't know if everybody saw, but there was a op-ed or whatever that was in the Post and Courier, I assume out of the Charleston paper, where some big Democrat, I assume he's a big Democrat, but literally wrote an article, we need to, start voting in the Republican primaries. They are coming out of the woodwork because we are, and realize this is just the nature of how this is going to happen. Everything has to come to a crescendo. Everything has to come to a tipping point. And now we are pushing them so hard. They're exposing themselves. We haven't realized it's all just been under the surface. Or when we actually know, and there's data that proves that a lot of Democrats vote in the Republican primary. But now they're literally putting it in op-eds, saying Democrats go out there and do this. So I like making all this stuff public, talk about it more, because the more we talk about it, the more we speak the truth of what's really going on. A lot of people don't want to talk about what goes on behind the curtain. I think we ought to share it. I think Trump shares it. He tells everybody everything. I think it's fantastic. But that's how you figure out what's going on. Draining the swamp is just taking the water out to show you what's going on.
Right.
Draining the swamp is telling the truth and saying this is what's actually happening. And that's why I like candidates, Trump, Nancy Mace, those types that will get out there and yell and scream and say whatever. I don't want a kindly old gentleman that's going to sit there and keep his mouth shut and in a back room, stab us all in the back, make deals all there. We may end up with the same deals, but let the people be aware of the hard choices you're having to make. So, because sometimes we do have to make hard choices. Sometimes we have to make incremental choices that we may or may not like. Yes. Yeah. So, you're not going to get everybody to agree to everything, at once. We're all on a learning journey. I felt differently about pro-life in my youth than I do today. I don't know where further I can go, but maybe, yeah, most of us have. Most of us come from it. Right. Yeah. So, all right. What else? Tell us about Fountain Inn. How'd y'all do it in Fountain Inn?
Let Shan speak.
Oh, I don't know. We talked to AJ.
Come speak louder so we can hear you.
Talked to AJ after that Saturday. She came to our house, and I said, "Well, what can we do for you?" She said, "Go hit the." There was a bunch of houses behind the subdivision behind us. She said, "Go hit that subdivision, Landon Station." I said, "So." And I was just trying to figure out what can we do so people would know it's a runoff. So I got there's two big signs in Fountain Inn. Got the
Yes.
the sign to say runoff the 18th.
And these were electronic
And
signs.
they were electronic signs, and one was a change the letters.
Yes,
And one's
okay.
electronic in front of City Hall and in front of the Activity Center.
And all that was just letting people know there was a runoff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know. So
Right.
y'all's interest was really about turnout, partially, but you're also.
Then we put the updated on all. We found all her signs. We were out there Friday night in the dark. I was playing in the traffic and putting all those little things. We stapled them on there and got them on there. The runoff the 18th, and she ended up winning by about 88 votes.
Really?
She won the first time. She lost by 8. Then she ended up winning. It was significant.
Yay.
But we still had a low turnout.
But y'all knocked on 130 doors in a couple days?
At least there's 130 in the subdivision and another close to 30 on our street. So, that's quite a few houses really.
Yeah.
And we only had 2.9% turnout for the runoff.
2.9.
So a small amount of people made the difference.
Every
Yes.
vote was worth really 50 votes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about it that way.
And when Shan was knocking on the door talking to these people, she gave the pitch about the runoff. She said, "Please vote for AJ and consider her. But whatever you do, get out and vote."
Right.
Yes.
That's where we're at to get turnout. You get enough turnout, you start getting interest, and then people will start listening. But until they get interest, you're beating your head against the wall.
Mhm. So, yeah, it was
Right, Jerry?
In all frankness, some people do debate whether, if you don't know anything about the candidates, should you vote? So there are some people, but part of our desire to increase voter participation is also educated voter participation.
We gave him a little card, and I said, "Look her up." I talked to a lot of doorbells.
Right.
I really like those doorbells.
Ring bells.
They're
Ring
so
bells.
nice. You can talk now.
They will talk back. Listen,
They're
Which it is funny. I mean, when we did a campaign school a couple weeks ago down in Columbia, and they talked about how the door ring cam has actually helped because people. I mean, I look at it myself. I'm in bed, somebody's knocking on my door. I really don't want to get up, right? And then if I do get up, by the time I get up, and get to the door, put my pants on, they're gone. So, but if you can watch them on the Ring doorbell, they can literally tell you something. You say, "Well, thanks for leaving that. I'll check it out or whatever." So we are literally getting more communication because of the Ring doorbell.
A funny story on that was we went to one door, and it was a Ring cam. Shannon left a message, and about 5 minutes later, the truck pulls up and he says, "What were you guys doing at my door? I saw
He
you."
said, "Can I help you?"
And so I said,
He was nice.
"Yeah, I'd be glad to tell you." And he told him, he goes, "Oh, thank you." They were pleasant.
There's some. I mean, there are good people. There's some people that run away and don't want to talk to you at all. But that's how you build a community. And for my recommendation with y'all's precinct, I don't know. Hopefully that neighborhood you're knocking on is actually in your precinct.
Yep.
Continue to do that, and we're going to do that to help grow and our membership and all that kind of stuff. Throw a barbecue, invite people to your house, that type of stuff. Talk politics, but make it fun. We have to make it fun as well. Educate, activate. Whatever the third. What's our term? I forgot it. But that get them involved that way. And go ahead.
The funny story is one of the houses we went to, they were about our age, and they were from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Okay, now let me tell you, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, is about 99.9% Democrat.
Yeah.
And they were very pleasant. They talked with us, and we communicated back and forth. They didn't say get off the property. They were very open. And so that's part of what we're after, just open discussion.
And realize too, a lot of times people just go along to get along. If I lived on Cape Cod, I might be a Democrat too. but I mean, I know, I'm teasing, but I'm like, I would be the one trying to convert everybody. And everybody would hate me. But they some people just go with the flow, and if they hear the other side, and if they hear things, that's why I wish people would just listen to Donald Trump. Cut out all the noise, cut out all the name calling, cut out all that other stuff. Listen to what the guy says. What the guy to me says is very common sense stuff. It's common sense. I think he goes in there and he just has whatever meetings he has and whatnot, and it's common sense. And I've heard, even on issues, I guess he sits at his big desk and he has, one group here and the people on the other side there, and say hash it out, and he just hears both sides and kind of decides. What the problem really is when the people just have this side sitting there, and that's all they hear from. Or they say, "Oh, well, the two sides won't talk to each other, so I'm going to listen to you now, and then I'll come listen to you at a different time." You can't. No, you need to have both of them sitting there in front of you, so they can point out when they're lying, and they can point out when they're lying. That's okay. But what frustrates me is because I've had people do that. "Oh, well, they won't meet with you, but I'll meet with you guys separately." I'm like, they're going to tell you a bunch of lies, and I don't know exactly what lies. You're not going to remember, but you're going to get a gut feeling off of something. When I am open to hearing them attack or say whatever they want to say about me, but they won't. They refuse to meet with us because we know what are their lies, and that's why they refuse to meet. So anybody, and we preach this all day long, do not trust anyone. Number one, anonymous. All these anonymous sources, that's like ridiculous. But also who refuses to meet. If they refuse to meet, and I have people tell me all the time, "Oh, somebody said such and such." I said, ask them if they'll sit down and meet with us. Or you know what, when they're telling you that, say, "Hold on a second, I got Jeff's phone number right here. Let's call him up and ask. Let's ask him if he voted for Bernie Sanders or did blah, 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 or whatever, or has 255 lawsuits against good Republicans." That's what they say. And it's got to stop. And that's one of the things that I charged Ray with, when he took over for Kerry as chairman of the pro-life committee. Is our issue is to get all the pro-life groups to come sit down and talk to each other. Has it been easy?
I wrote a letter this morning about that. It should be in your inbox.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that yet. But it's
anyone
hard.
else who I have an email for.
It's hard to get them to come together and sit down. And they'll tiptoe. We had a little tiptoe last Monday, where somebody from South Carolina Citizens for Life came and spoke. But I also followed up with that person, and that person hasn't responded. I don't know. I mean, why would you not? I would love to talk to anybody. I got no problem talking to anybody. I like talking to the other side, and I like to talking to our side, even if we don't agree.
There are people in the pro-life community, these lobbyists and other important people that will talk to you, but it's like you said, they're not going to sit down to a panel where issues can actually be discussed and some consensus agreed to on what the pro-life community as a whole is going to do. We're fragmented. I've often said violence from the pulpit is the greatest threat to ending abortion, but division within the pro-life community is a close second.
Yes, and we saw that, and we'll talk about it with Cash's subcommittee this week. That was, I mean, there's lessons to be learned on all sides with that. Maybe he was pushing the envelope just to see where things would, or expose things. We'll get into it. But does everybody understand the campaigns? I think now is the time that we now focus on 27, the municipalities. Dig deeper. Let's get with our legislative committee and our folks that are assigned to each of the municipalities. Let's get the names and put in the right categories and what we may or may not want to do in 2 years, and start working toward that. I mean, we did a lot better this 2-year period than we did 2 years ago, and I think we could do a whole lot better 2 years from now. And if we can't do it in a small municipality, how the heck do we think we're going to do it on a county or state level? So, or on the national level. I kind of draw the line. I want to build borders around South Carolina too, but no, the national impacts us substantially, and we have to address that. And there are other groups like us in other states, but and they're having the same fights with the state party and all that kind of stuff. So it always gets me. People on our side here in South Carolina want the RNC to come in and save us. I'm like, the RNC is fighting this battle in all 50. I mean, we got 46 states. There are 46 counties in South Carolina. We are important on the national stage in regards to the presidential preference primaries. Not so important in regards to presidential elections, but on the presidential preference primaries, we are or have been certainly still with the Republicans. I don't know what the Democrats are doing or switching things up, but we're 46 counties out of 3,000, and these battles are going on in all 3,000 counties. So nobody's coming to save us. We got to do our own work and turn out our own numbers and move forward from there. But that's I mean, I was excited about what we did. I think our data works a lot better. We're getting better at that. We need to do better on our mapping, and that's partially me dialing back on some of that other stuff. But and then the tagging of the data, and probably even an update of the data, because some of ours is a little bit on the older side of the spectrum.
And if anyone wants to join the legislative committee,
Yes,
there's a lot of things coming.
There's the legislative committee is now starting to rival the pro-life committee, so watch out. So that's the
We got a lot of work to do.
yes.
They're
There's a whole
saving
lot,
they're saving me a lot of work, so
Yeah.
bring it on.
which is good. I mean, and y'all are part of the
Well,
legislative
yeah, I
committee
think
too,
they're
but
both kind
yes,
of dovetail.
it's an offshoot because it's kind of a big enough type of thing. But I mean, why are we doing what we do? We're involved because we got to get better candidates. Take the 3-part step. Take over the party so we can endorse good people, to show the folks that are out there that don't really know or follow this, like the crazy people like we are, follow this all the time. They listen to the party. They listen to the voice of the party. And if the party, that's the way I used to be. I mean, it's I don't think I'm unusual. If the GOP said that this is the person, I'm like, okay, well, I do whatever the GOP says because I'm a good Republican. Oh my God. I mean, I did not know. I'm sorry. I apologize. But take control or take back the authority or the bully pulpit of the party so we can get better candidates elected, so we can get better legislation. Steve Shaw even wrote on a comment I saw earlier this morning. If you want a different county council, you got to change. You got to change who's on it.
Right.
That's what we did, and now have a good solid majority voting base. In Simpsonville, and that's what we did for the county council last year, and we need to do for the school board and for some other things. But, you know, why we're doing this is for the ultimate end goal of the legislation. You know, smaller government, less taxes. You know, I don't mind taxes, and I mean, you know, that is a fact. We got to pay. You know, as Mike Burkholz was saying, you know, last week. You know, it is a fact of life. We got to pay some amount of taxes for military and roads and all that kind of stuff. What I don't like seeing is we're doing it for water fountains and art and all this other kind of crazy non-essential stuff. You know, I mean, there was literally, I think down in Fountain in Simpsonville group that I saw, they're cutting down a water tower. Maybe you need to. Maybe it's, we think it's more aesthetic not to have a water tower so we can build this other pump station, which needs to be powered, and then the generator, and God only knows. I mean, I would love to see the financials on why they're deciding to cut down, I mean, literally cut down a water tower down there.
Especially when the power goes out.
Right. You know, or, you know, and then, you know, and it's out for a long time and we run out of diesel and then people don't have water at the whole system. It was in a Simpsonville / Fountain Inn group, but it was somebody taking a picture of a water tower. I think they had cut out the top quarter of it, but apparently they're, you know, and I just asked the questions. Anybody know why? You know,
I saw the cranes. I don't know.
I mean, but why would you do it? Why? I mean, is it defective? Is it rusting? Maybe it can't. I don't know. But generally, I can almost bet that somebody has a bunch of money, you know, the water department or somebody. Somebody doesn't like the aesthetics of a water tower, and we can build it underground and have a water pump station. You know, how much does water?
That works great.
Yeah, you know, I mean, but as opposed to just pumping the water up in a water tower and having it there.
So the tower goes up with RGB lights.
Oh, yes, yeah. I mean, at least they're not taking the water tower and putting a rainbow all over it. At least, yeah, that's a good thing. Maybe somebody knew where Fountain Inn or Simpsonville was one to go and took it down before they painted rainbow.
Now, that water tower is behind Hillcrest High School, right?
I don't
That's
know.
the one.
I believe so. They had 2 big cranes up there and taking stuff
Oh,
off
so
the
it's the
top.
one you're Hilton?
Oh, that one.
And it's pretty old, and there's a lot of rust on it.
I mean, it may be.
It might be.
It might be a legitimate reason.
It might be service. You know, there's no telling.
Yeah, right. And I'm saying volunteering. I don't know, but I would like to know that. That's why we need inside guys. You know, either on all of these things. That's why boards and commissions. It is so important to be on a board and commission just to be able to hear and know the facts. I don't want to get upset about something that has a legitimate, valid reason. You know, but I mean, you got to somehow communicate it out there. I just see a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse.
Oh, yeah.
With our tax dollars. We all know it's there. You know, Mike Burkholz candidate for comptroller general, state of South Carolina. He's talking to outside folks saying, you know, there's probably an easy 15% waste.
At
You know,
least.
and that's probably just not checking payments against contracts and all that type of stuff. So, I mean, you know, we know it exists. You know, we know it exists in our personal life. There's a couple things I need to I need to change my T-Mobile contracts. I know I'm paying too much. You know, it's all there, but it's like having time to get to it. We as citizens, they ought to let us in a little bit more to be able to find that 15%. Because it's a whole lot easier to say, oh, we're just going to increase the millage 5 points or 10 points than to find the waste, fraud, and abuse. That's not the way you do it. So we're okay. I remember with the gas tax from years ago, we obviously opposed that. But with the gas tax, I was like, you know what? Reform first. If you reform SCDOT and you still need money, we'll give you the money. I'd be the first guy out there if you reformed SCDOT and they were working. You know, I can squeeze a penny a long way. You know, that's just my nature, what I like to do. If they were squeezing their dollars and pennies, you know, and they needed more, God help, we'll give them more money.
Well,
We won't
it boils down to the same problem we've been seeing, even with like Duke Power and all these others. Give us the money and we'll upgrade. We'll do the upgrades if you give us the money. No, you do the upgrades first, then you get rewarded for it. And that's the problem that we're seeing, is that it's always give us the money and we'll do it. Instead of let us do it first and then we'll pay, then we can ask you for the money.
True. That's a Duke Power issue as well. Duke Power wants to go to carbon neutral. you know, their
That's on
CEO
them.
is,
Hey, that's great on them.
yeah,
It should
I mean,
should be the people consuming it that turns around and pays for you to do it.
it's gonna be a problem, so.
Yeah.
Dude, you know, and there is, you know, but it's almost like they create this energy problem that we now have to deal with. That you know,
Right.
I'm like, why did you let Duke keep getting away with just rate increases and converting to this green energy, you know, farce that's going on over there? So, but you know, I would sell my Duke energy stock, but who knows? All right, what's next? Forestry update.
Okay.
Come on.
So this is our example.
Frankie.
This is our example of getting on boards and commissions.
I was told we to get up close so I can project and speak.
Yes, you need to speak loudly.
Yes.
And do not use that camera because he is wearing a bunch of
Big game
California.
tomorrow. Big games tomorrow.
I can't believe. I mean, dude, you're in South Carolina. You can't be promoting
Oh,
California.
Just on,
Just to college.
yeah, just the college, just this day, one day out of the year.
One day out,
Two
all
days
right.
out, Friday and Saturday.
Did you go there for school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll explain. So we push boards and commissions every quarter. They are municipal or city boards and commissions. There are county boards and commissions. There are legislatively appointed boards and commissions, your legislative delegation for your county. There are state appointed boards and commissions. And number 5, there are federal boards and commissions. I've never seen I don't know where the federal ones are. I haven't gotten to that. But and Henry McMaster is way behind on his appointments with the state boards and commissions. But it's easy to get on the municipalities. I mean, when we went to the certification for the election yesterday, there were 3 members of the Simpsonville City Board of Election. I think there were supposed to be 4, but they had 3. Maybe missing a spot. So somebody might want to get on that. That would be nice. They meet every 2 years, and Conway and those guys come down there and present the data and everything, and answer any questions. If there had been any provisional ballots, they would have heard that, or any complaint, they would have heard that from the citizens, but there weren't. And then they approved it and signed off on it. And I think we posted it out on Facebook, so you can see the actual documentation of what that they signed. Now, when we saw a list of boards and commissions, there was something for a forestry board. And I'm like, who the heck knows anything about forestry? Lo and behold, this guy has a degree in forestry.
Yeah.
And we're like,
From
we're
California.
from California. So yes, you see the problem.
Yeah, so I'm on the county board of forestry. And
Each
so,
county has a board of forestry. So
and with like several members. And so yesterday they had the state, I guess, state of the industry board. We came and got a report on what's going on there.
how many people were there
Probably about 50 people
from across the state?
across the state, all
Okay.
counties. There's 3 other board members. I was the only one from Greenville who showed up.
Really? And how many board members on the Greenville?
I think there's 4.
4 of you? Okay.
Okay, so the other 3 didn't show up, and I found out 2 of them have been on the board for 40 years.
Wow.
Oh, so
40 years total or each?
That's
Each.
an old tree.
40 years.
They were giving out awards, and there was some of these people are 40, 45-year-old.
Oh, and from other counties. Yes,
Other
yes.
kinds, but no, 2 of our guys from Greenville have been on the board
Really?
40 years.
for 40 years in Greenville.
Well,
Wow.
we want the
Oh,
old
yeah.
timers.
So that,
Can you,
Yeah.
so am I.
can,
Yeah.
yeah.
they're real old.
Can you break that record?
I don't know.
How old was Moses when he passed?
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one.
Holy cow.
So,
Yeah.
so back to the, actually forestry is a big industry. in
It
South
truly is. It really, really is.
$23.2 billion in South Carolina.
Oh,
What's bad about it is the state of the industry is really depressed. There's been a lot of mill closures. Pulp and paper was big industry here, and lumber. So there's a lot of mill closings. People aren't making money. A lot of it, all of this private land out here with forests on it are owned by private entrepreneurs. People have had their forests forever. They have their markets are shrinking down to nothing. They have nowhere to sell their products. So they're
Why?
scraping by.
What was the reason for the decline? What do they think?
There's just a lot of it. There's less demand for pulp and paper and wood. It's just getting too expensive. Part of it is also getting expensive to actually harvest. And there's no market because all these mills are closing. Competition from outside United States.
Yeah.
Especially Canada.
Yeah, Canada, so there's no wood being,
And realize the issue, the longer term issue is if the owners of this property can't make money
keep
off of
stealing
selling.
I'm stealing my thunder there.
Well, let me
Yeah, so-
finish this, but yeah,
Yeah,
they,
go
you know,
for it.
what are they gonna do? I own a piece of property, I can't sell the trees anymore, I might as well sell it to a developer.
You got it. That's right where I was
Well, yeah,
going with
that
that. So
makes
you
sense.
know, these people look at their land as some income coming in. I got some money
Right.
coming in, and you got a nice forest. It's managed well,
Mhm.
and it looks nice and everything. And everybody, and then if he can't sell his timber or pulp, what's the next best use? I'll sell it to somebody else. He'll clear it out. And everybody talks about clear cutting. That's what the developers do. A guy who owns forests is going to manage his forest, make it look nice, and have it going on there. So what they're also doing, they're looking for alternative for use forest products. So they're looking at a power generation using wood chips to burn for, as opposed to petroleum. And then
That is a big business, because I did hear that like West Virginia will sell pulp that gets shipped, pulp chips that get shipped to England.
That's one of the big things. And but plus we have the EU has also got non-tariff trade barriers. They won't take our chips because they want it fumigated, but they don't like the chemicals we use. However, they do use the same chemicals on their wheat and stuff. So they're trying to get Trump's administration to do that. Also, this carbon, and also using this fuel as it is considered carbon neutral because you burn a tree, you plant a tree. So that's the argument. So they want to do that. So they're looking for alternative then, and also diesel fuel. They can make diesel fuel out of wood products. So the big thing is,
Really?
yes,
Yeah, biodiesel.
biodiesel. Yeah. So
Oh, my goodness, I didn't
so that's
know
that. So they're
that.
scrambling there to try to reignite the industry. So they're trying to do that.
Have they talked about other tree products? Because somebody told me a long time, maybe it was an investment class I had in the old
Keep
days,
going. Yeah, oh, yeah.
that if you planted a black walnut tree, so if I bought an acre of land or whatever, planted it with black walnut, I think is what it's called, and at the end of my life it'd be worth $1 million or something like that. I know it grows slower, it takes longer time, yada yada. But I mean, what other kind of products?
Well, there's pulp. Pulp is a big, quick one, so you can get
Yes.
20 return on pulp. A lot of it is just,
Pine trees grow fast, so the people
Pine trees-
they can harvest it fast.
but there's still a lot less demand here that they can get wood cheaper, and they're talking about selling our wood products out to other areas, other parts of the country, or the world.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If there's less than of a demand, why does Amazon make their boxes? That's a big demand. There's
Right. I've always thought about this.
There's a big pulp operation on Amelia Island that makes all of Amazon's boxes.
Mhm.
And a lot of the pulp in Georgia and
But
Florida,
Georgia's had actually shut down a big pulp plant because they're not.
where in Georgia?
I'd have to. I'll
So,
get back to you on
South-
that.
Well, I want to ask you some questions too. Go ahead. I
No,
don't
keep
mean to
asking
interrupt.
questions. I like that.
Well, where in South Carolina have they shut the mills down?
Well, the mill in
I got a map.
Charleston,
Charleston.
driving into Charleston. I used to know I was home when I was driving to Charleston.
I
could
got
smell
a,
the
I
paper.
got a map in my thing.
All right, well,
So there's been a 5 or 7 shut pulp and saw, what they call saw logs for like lumber and things
Right.
like that. They're all shut down. One of the other thing is they also there's people aren't logging anymore, so you don't have people who can actually
Oh, the loggers?
loggers. They can't they don't have the skill to no one can run a chainsaw.
What?
Yeah, so a lot of those people are going out, and so the price is very depressed. So people aren't making money on that, so they're looking elsewhere, and they're like chips and stuff. They're trying, and what they call
Wow.
the byproducts of sawing and stuff. They're trying to sell that out elsewhere.
I can't believe
They
it.
don't have any
Laws.
I used to allow them to wire.
We too.
Oh.
So that's all.
I used to be a lumber buyer for a long time, and I did buy millions of dollars out of Canada,
Generation.
because you got two issues. One is locally, the only thing that they really harvest for money is yellow pine. It's strong, it's fast growth, okay, but it's not as
I know what you mean.
light, so it costs more to freight it, even though it's local. I could buy cars, rail cars out of Canada, you get them in cheaper, like on studs and stuff.
Really?
The white pine stud is more stable than the yellow pine stud, and so the builders want to use it. So it's
7 years is.
what the products are and being competitive.
Right.
Now, chips are a big product down here.
Right. Chip for pulp.
Yeah, OSB, that kind of stuff. So they harvest the trees a lot earlier than the old growth. You can't harvest any more cypress because of eco laws, ecology laws. Now you can't get in. The only place you can harvest cypress is in deep swamps, and they're going to use helicopters to get the lumber out. So there goes your price, way up sky high.
That was actually a small topic in there. They're talking about like the roadways. There's a lot of bridges that can't handle a logging truck.
Mm-hmm.
So they need bridge. They want to push for SCGOT to refurbish these bridges so they can handle the weight of the logging trucks. And like what you're saying, it's cheaper to go get a rail car from Canada rather than locally have a guy truck a logging truck to the sawmill and like that.
And what they do up in Canada, they'll cut a lot of their lumber and wait till a hard freeze when the rivers freeze. They actually run their trucks on the rivers to get them to the marketplace. So you don't have to build roads.
No.
You use what's there.
Okay.
Another cost of economy.
Right.
And who expected to learn about forestry today?
Oh, we still got.
I know you got more.
I got
We'll
more.
try to
So
stop
you
interrupting.
hit the thing about the
There's more.
well, people who have had this land and it's been an income for them, they're not getting their income
For
and they
ages.
sell it to developers. Okay. Back then they talked about Hurricane Helene. I don't know if anybody here owns. If you had a lot of the hurricane has damaged timber fall down, so they lost money on that. So there's actually a block grant of $20 million out there. If you own forest land, you gotta have 10 minimum 10 acres of contiguous forest, and you can go get possibly recoup some of that. So anybody out there in TV land has forest, and then what they're saying is a lot of these foresters or forest landowners aren't aware of this. They're trying to get that out. So a lot of money there.
So probably there was a proviso providing 20 million of funding to help these people out. Let me tell you how these provisos work. The only people that know about them
Proviso.
are the
Inner people.
or the politicians telling us about it. So,
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, that's how it works.
Yeah, and you have to get a registered forester to come out there and say, this is how much, I had, $100,000 worth of timber fall down that I can't sell now. I was planning on selling it, and you can go and apply for.
And if I'm the elected official, you got your 10 acres, I come whisper it in your ear.
Right.
You're going to be a donor on my next campaign,
You
right?
got that.
Yeah.
Who administers that block grant?
The forestry committee, state forestry commission.
State forestry.
There's a guy, a state forester. I can give you his name, and I actually have a website people can go to, and if they are interested and have the ability and they want to be damaged by Hurricane Helene, and they have
He's a volunteer on his board and commission. They probably fed you.
I got a great lunch.
You got a nice
Pulled
lunch.
pork.
Did you get mileage? Did you get
Huh?
mileage?
No, I didn't do that.
Mileage. But you got
I
him a
enjoyed
nice
the
lunch.
No, I got pulled pork and roasted chicken, lima beans, mac and cheese.
Really?
The whole office got to eat too. We all ate, and then all the other workers.
But they do have a paid staff down there.
Oh yeah, there's a whole. It's like a whole It's a whole forestry department, just like U.S. Forest Service. So they work with the Forest Service. They do fire suppression, firefighting, and things like that. So that was
It's a $23 billion industry. So
Yeah.
you'd expect it.
So they put out the fire. Well, they had the two big fires we had last year, that which segues into what I want to talk about next. Upstate South Carolina has been red flagged for. We might have fire season coming up with all the down timber from Hurricane Helene, and it's been very dry. So they've already forecast that we might have a pretty possibly I mean, I don't want to scare anybody, but they're got their eyes open about that. So that's one of the impacts of Hurricane Helene also. So we'll possibly have a fire season come up, which is different for me. Fire season here in South Carolina, I learned, is wintertime. And in California, it's summertime.
Yeah.
So it's dry. It's dry, a lot of down timber. It's pretty dry. We're not getting any rain, so we could have fires like we did last year. So
And really, I mean, y'all, we've seen the fires up in the mountains.
That's exactly
you
one
can
that-
smell the smoke here in Greenville.
yeah, that's actually, this is the first time last year they had actually fire down near Myrtle Beach. At the same time, they had one in the mountains, and they were pretty scrapped fighting that. So they're worried about possibly having a pretty big fire up here this next year.
And they have planes. I see pictures of
They've
planes,
got
water
I
planes.
can
and all that
pen
stuff.
out. I got a booklet. They have like Bory bombers, firefighting planes, helicopters. Another thing they're going to do is they're buying bulldozers. They're finally getting bulldozers with cages around. So it's pretty dangerous work when you're fighting a fire trying to bulldoze stuff. So
And have you asked for a ride on the helicopter yet?
no, I should.
You should.
Well, actually, they're big. Actually, they're big bombers that they use.
Really?
Yeah, it's just like war bombers, like old, full of retardant, fire retardant.
Do you know how they spot the fires like really fast? How is there a surveillance of like?
Is it satellite or is it?
I'll tell you how they used to have the old lookout towers.
Yeah,
people,
but
and they look for smoke.
Right.
That's not
So-
still.
Above the
They don't still do
trees.
it that way.
Yeah, that used to be the lonely job. You go out and sit in the top
Yeah.
of the tower.
Is there a more updated version of
I'm sure satellites can pick
And
it
it's
up.
well, actually, the satellite plate doesn't pick it up until it's almost like too late. Once
Too
it's
late.
big and hot enough, then they can
Yeah.
pick it up. And it's like if you
And
see
then it
smoke off in the
glitch.
distance, it's usually local people report it and things like that.
Oh yeah,
And it also depends on the weather and stuff. Stuff can kick up like that.
right. And yeah, that Helene has had a chance to age and dry out. Nice.
That's exactly. Well, it's been down for
Yeah.
a year now, and now it's all dried out.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's just
That's
it's just,
firewood. Yeah.
it's just firewood out there.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
and yep, and that was that about covers
That's
it. That's it.
But see that just with that small thing,
Thank
just
you, Frank.
getting him on that board and commission,
Yeah.
having the background of a forestry degree. You have a master's degree, Tim?
No.
Just the undergrad? Okay. From Cal.
Well, when I went there, it was like the #1 forestry school in the nation.
Wow.
Second to Michigan.
Yeah. My dad majored in forestry at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Long.
And I think Clemson has a forestry major. There's a guy that I went to the Citadel with. He left, I think after first semester freshman year, and he said, "Oh, I really just always wanted to do forestry." So he went to Clemson. What is he today? He's a lawyer down in Charleston.
well, another trivia thing, Biltmore up here, that's big forestry, and there's actually they used to have it measure in the old time to measure wood. They call it a Biltmore stick. So what they go out was invented in Biltmore,
Oh.
and so it's actually basically a yardstick,
Yeah.
and you can like measure what they call. You go out and cruise the forest, and you do this, or you look on a log truck and you can tell how many with a stick, and if you're
Yeah.
trained on it, you can tell how many cubic feet of
Wow.
How
or
fun
board
is
feet of
that?
wood there.
Yeah.
So
What a lot of people are doing, another way to, I mean, we were driving back from Simpsonville the other day. There was this, a couple areas, there were a bunch of trees and stuff like that. And I'm like, they're gonna build houses there unless those folks have something to do, with their.
with the land,
With
it's
the land.
just- and actually they can't put any money in to make the land nice, and it's just easier for somebody to come in, bulldoze everything out, and lay asphalt.
And one of the things you'll hear them talk about are conservation easements. You can put an easement over the property that you can't develop it, but you can forest it. You could do that. You can limit it to what you can do. And that is a way of getting money in the pockets of these landowners.
Well, and also they get their land assessed as what's
Yes.
next door. It's like, so they got.
Think about the property taxes.
Property taxes, so
Wait,
they're
don't-
paying house
Does the
property
forestry get
taxes for force.
Don't they get the lower rate like farmland does?
They can.
If they apply appropriately,
They apply,
and go through all the steps.
I would
Which a
think
lot of
they
these
would know.
people that own it, are absentee or older, or they don't.
Or
know.
they pass away and kids
Yeah.
say, I can get a big bunch of cash right now.
Kids will, they'll miss it.
So,
These conservation easements are what they're trying to do to protect some property in the northern part of the county.
there was a huge one over in Myrtle Beach. They got a lot of money for some historic stuff. So,
In Georgia, they give a very big state tax credit for conservation easements. So when I practiced, we did a whole bunch of them in Georgia. South Carolina does not have as big of a conservation easement tax credit. I think it's something small, like $100 an acre is like de minimis. But what they have done is they've taken money that they allocate to go buy it from you. So I don't like that system because it gives it more apt to, oh, I know you, I'm gonna come buy your property, but
which is,
because you're my political opponent, so I'm not gonna buy your property, as opposed to anybody can use the tax credit.
and actually they
So-
did have a big one. The feds gave them a bunch of money where they did buy a bunch of stuff near Myrtle Beach, and I'm sure there was a lot of that
Yeah.
relationship
Yes.
stuff going on down there.
Yeah.
So,
A whole lot of relationship stuff goes on in South Carolina.
okay.
Yeah, because look, I mean, and I'll not to harp on it like I've harped on 1,000 times, but they are literally screwing children in this state on school choice because they don't like us. We got involved in politics, got involved in the Greenville GOP because I'm like, well, they're being nasty to us now. Maybe they'll have to be nice to us. I didn't realize they're even nastier now. So I'm like, at what step do they actually start taking you seriously? But as we teach, you have to be politically feared to be politically respected. That was the class we all took last week. First they just try to destroy you until they realize, oh, we're going to have to deal with them and maybe we got to give in. I always thought you could dislike whomever, but you're going to screw over kids. They will screw over kids. They will screw over everybody. They'll screw over the land. They'll screw over. I mean,
And a shameless plug for the legislative committee.
yes.
So
No
if
shameless plug for the legislative committees.
So if you want to work with the legislative committee, contact me.
Yeah.
And where's Jerry already took off? I
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
get him
yeah.
on my list.
Yeah,
He's going to be an insider,
Yes.
or another insider in Simpsonville.
Right.
So if you're in a municipality and you want to watch it, we need somebody in Travelers
Travelers
Rest.
arrest, we need that.
Yeah,
So-
we've got Maul, we've got somebody at Malden, someone who want to
Walden,
watch it.
Simpsonville, Fountain Inn, we got Greer.
Right.
We need Travelers Rest.
So-
So
What are you looking to do?
we just need an inside person in Travelers Rest to start going
Inside
to
or
the meetings and
outside,
let us
Or
know.
outside person can go to the meeting and say, what's going on, rather than, throwing rocks at your radio when you hear something. So you know what's
Right.
going on.
And to also, as part of that, and Ron and Shannon will,
Ron, yeah, Ron.
follow the boards and commissions for the cities.
Develop a relationship with these people that are actually on the boards.
I'm more of the data guy, so
Yes.
I'll collect as much as I can.
Stick with what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's somebody in TV land or out here that would probably, we got to find somebody that lives in TR proper or is interested in going to the meetings in TR. I mean, Jerry went to 8 months worth of meetings. I'm sure he was thinking about running, but he learned more about it. I know people, I literally know somebody that was elected to the State House, and we were in their office. They walked out and then they came back in. Well, they walked out because they had a meeting with the governor, and they came back in. It was a freshman. Came back in and said, "Where's the governor's office?" They didn't even know where the governor's office. I've talked to people that run for office that have never ever been to the State House. I'm like, I mean, maybe you can watch it. I get it. You can watch it online. Maybe they did that due diligence, but a lot of them just run as a popularity contest. I mean, if you put me in the State House, I'm ready to roll day
That's
number
right.
one. There's a lot of people that get down there, and don't really know what to
Deer in
do.
the headlights.
Deer in the headlights. They get sat over here. I mean, I literally saw a snippet of a Josiah Magnuson video that he did, I guess, 5 or 6 days ago, where he goes, "Oh, well, we bring in our new members of the Freedom Caucus and we mentor them." I'm like, "Oh, you do? That's exactly what you bitch and moan and complain about the leadership doing." Because realize on the Freedom Caucus, if you're a new member, you don't even get to vote for the first year. So you join the Freedom Caucus, you don't get a vote. You get mentored, I guess, for the first year, which is exactly what they bitch about, with the leadership doing.
Is that true? Freshmen don't?
Yes, unless they've changed it, it's true. Unless they've changed it in the last year, it's true. And oftentimes they don't tell them. I asked a candidate.
It boils down to they probably don't know there's a vote.
Well, I asked
Or
a
they tell them
candidate.
how to vote.
I asked
Or they
a
tell them
candidate
how.
that was
Yeah.
running on the Freedom Caucus platform. I said, you do know you don't get a vote for a year. And he told me, it's like, that's crazy. There's no way. He went and asked it. Oh, you're right. And they never told him.
Wow.
They never told him.
They're mentoring him on how to.
Right. Yes. But realize the what is the
proper
mentoring?
word? They're grooming.
Grooming is the proper rule.
Yeah.
It's not sitting down and having a discussion and hearing everybody out and all that kind of stuff. Because I will tell you, and the other person that was on that little video, whatever that they did, was the girl Sarita Edgerton, the House rep over there. Seems like a nice person, all good. Guess what? I mean, she gets elected, all about small government, all this kind of stuff. What is she voting for? ESAs. Why on the planet is somebody who ran or wants to be free? She got mentored into voting for 100% government-run school choice program. I'm like, is that the mentoring you're getting? You might as well be part of the leadership caucus. Why fight the battle or pretend to be fighting the battle if you're voting for a government-run
So
stuff?
can it be said, every time we flip a seat like that basically when we do that, let's say we flip enough seats, we actually give more power to who's in, you know what I'm saying, for the first year.
It depends. If
It
you're
depends
flipping
on
them for
whether
Freedom
or not
Caucus,
if-
yes,
if
that's
they
the
join
problem.
one of the caucuses is the one that keeps them from voting.
Oh,
If they
so
go
they're
in,
not-
if they go in and they're not a member of any of these stupid caucuses, and they go in there as, I'm a Republican, I'm going in there as a Republican, I'm going to do the Republican thing, and they don't join any of these caucuses, they get to vote. They don't have to
Well,
vote
you can
later.
still
Wait a
vote,
minute.
yeah. But a caucus is just a group. Like we have a
Yeah.
MAGA America First
But are you
caucus in the
saying
GOP.
They tell them don't vote until we train you.
Mhm.
Or
No,
they
no,
literally
not voting in the legislature,
Oh, okay.
in the caucus.
In the caucus.
Oh, gotcha.
To vote for leadership. Or imagine,
I
please
understand.
come to precinct reorg and then come to county committee. You don't get a vote. I got to mentor you for the first 2
Oh, okay,
years.
that's nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, that they don't get a vote in the caucus.
Okay, I understand that.
Yeah. I'm like, so they're inviting people to join the caucus, but they're not going to give them a vote. I'm not inviting Ron to join our caucus if I think Ron is going to be, voting with the Democrats. I thought I ought to want to give him a vote right out of the box, right? But no, they have to apparently, your term, groom
Yeah.
them so that, they had to groom Sarita to sit there and support 100% government-run school choice program. That completely failed. So if we had no other options, and it's still unconstitutional, and the freaking Democrats haven't sued it yet. I don't know why they won't, because all they did, instead of having money coming directly from the general fund, they now have the money coming from lottery dollars, which I can show you about 100 court cases that say lottery dollars are taxpayer funds. You can't use taxpayer funds for secular schools. That's against our Constitution, or Christian schools or whatnot, private schools. Literally, even watching them read it on the Senate side, they were like, yes, it's probably going to get sued, and we don't really know, and da-da-da-da-da. The problem is nobody sued. It's unconstitutional. It's blatantly unconstitutional. The current school choice program that's failing is blatantly unconstitutional, but somebody has to sue it. I've had legislators say, "Oh, well, we don't care if it's unconstitutional. Let the courts handle that." What they've tried to do is stack the courts, so the courts will then find it constitutional.
loophole.
So they think that. So that's probably why the Democrats haven't sued it, because they know with the new Supreme Court justice they put on there, they think the new state Supreme Court will rule that it's constitutional. So
we have a question online. What happens if you back the system and you vote the first year in the caucus?
they just won't count your vote. I mean, you can vote in the House of Representatives. I mean, there's no way to take that away from them. But say we're all sitting here and I'm going to count everybody's vote except for
Like,
yours
yeah,
because
somebody
you're in your
explain
first year.
Little But
So-
in case Ginger missed the caucus
It's
is
just the
outside of
caucus.
chambers
Yes.
meeting,
Yes.
like it's planning
That's-
for strategies when you go to the full house and stuff,
Brainwashing.
right?
Well, the
It's
caucus
not
is like a
the-
block of
Right.
votes.
Brainwashing the
So
first
that,
year.
so they're get together as a block and say, we're all like-minded, we, as a group, we're gonna oppose this bill or we're gonna support this bill. But as a junior member, you're gonna do whatever the senior members, they're not, you can't argue with them.
Right.
You have a no vote with it. If you don't have a vote within the caucus.
If our caucus is having an internal vote on whether we support this bill or this bill, the freshmen don't get a vote on where their block is going to vote. So back, they don't have any vote, they're being groomed, and, in the way I've read it, and you can research it, the U.S. Congress, House of Representatives Freedom Caucus, if they vote 80% feel that it should do one thing, then the entire block votes the way that 80%.
So you
votes.
lose your almost individual vote.
You do in some ways, but also if your block is big enough, you can be influential on things. Now, I mean, if you look at it, really the Republicans and you have the full Republican caucus up there. The Republicans will vote in a block. I'm not saying every single one of those Republicans agree with everything that's going on, but they know, well, the alternative is we got to outnumber the block of Democrats. Yes. So, but in Ralph, Ralph's always about getting attention, and he always ends up voting for it in the end, but there's pros and cons to a caucus. The problem with the Freedom Caucus is they don't have the numbers. They keep losing people to federal pedophile things, or they try to run them from Congress, and they get the kiss of death from the other side, and that type of stuff. So,
How many are they on the Freedom Caucus? Six?
I think there's 17 now. I'll have to look. They would never announce their numbers, and so what we did is we actually counted it up and wrote an article about it and put the numbers out there
Good job, huh?
on
Why can't we
mySCGOP.news.
start a caucus?
We are
This is,
within the GOP. We have, and if you read there, America First Caucus remains in local control.
Yeah, I
So,
saw that.
so that we are the
So
America
we're
First
in
MAGA
Greenville.
of the Greenville County Republican
So we're
Party.
the caucus.
We are a caucus within the Republican Party. So a lot of things that we do within the caucus. So it's not actually the GOP.
So we're a caucus.
We are a caucus. You are a caucus. And since you own a gun store, you have a vote. We don't really do sit around and have votes and stuff like that. But you see what I do. I build consensus. We don't really just say, hey, you're an official member and you're not an official member.
Right.
I like to build consensus. The censures, what do? We talked about it. I got input from people and talked to folks about it. Then we sent out an email to 250 people who were ECs and presidents. Let us know what you think. And then we had 2 Zoom calls to talk about it. What do you think about these censures? And then we had 2 votes on it. That's why we got an 84, 85 to 95% vote on those censures that we put out there. Because we built consensus. As a caucus, we built consensus. Now some people went off script because who knows why? It's a little bizarre. Some of those people never came on a Zoom call or never wanted to have. I had private meetings with people that said, "Hey, I just want to come in and sit down with you at the headquarters. I want to talk to you about So I understand it. That's neat. So they spread that red stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
What is that?
Fire retardant.
Fire retardant. Okay. You should ask for a ride on that thing. But we built consensus, which is why we were able to get that vote. I did not want to go into a meeting because this is what's horrible. You'll go in a lot of counties. You will go into a GOP meeting. They will throw something up there. You don't know what it is. You'll either vote with your friends but nobody understands it. I'm the glutton for punishment, but I want people to understand it. It took a lot of work to go through that. I think we probably could have gotten them past it 52% or whatever, and not really worried about it. But the more people that understand the reason for the censures, that's important, because
It
that
is.
builds, so because that was a small test. There will be bigger tests that will come along. There always is. I don't know what it is. It's not part of some plan, but there's something else that will come that we have to have an understanding, and you want to work through that process there. Let's see. I don't have the exact numbers. There's an article about it, but I think they obviously lost R.J. May, but they picked up Diane Mitchell. So
Jeff,
Oh
Y'all
my
too?
gosh. they
Okay, I'm gonna
picked
call
up
him
Wanted
a
to
redhead, because I don't remember what his name is, but he told me they had 16.
16
That's what he told me.
was that before the special election with Diane Mitchell and
That was
the
when I
guy?
was talking to him last week.
at boot camp.
Oh, last week,
Yeah,
16.
he said 4 of the originals weren't there anymore, and I assume that's like Ralph Norman and all those guys that have moved on.
Oh, Ralph has already moved on. They
Yeah.
started the South
They-
Carolina
they-
Freedom.
They were talking about, 2001, 2021, 2023, whatever, but he said they had 16. That's what he said.
16 is not a big enough of a block to do anything.
That's right.
That's just a gnat and a nuisance. They could all be Democrat. If there were 16 extra Democrats, it wouldn't matter. So that's why they get lit. Nobody cares what they say. And the problem is with the Freedom Caucus, as we've experienced, they lie about me all the time. I made that comment on Josiah's thing, because Wes Donahue, whether you like him or not, he worked representative Lindsay and some of those other types. He's a big consultant out of Charleston. Wes Donahue is, I think, trying to bring some of these people together, and he's working with the Doge people, and I think he's one of the consultants for those guys, or advisors for them on policy and things like that. I think he's trying to bring people together, and a lot of people think, well, Doge kind of says what we say, which kind of says Freedom Caucus, so maybe you want to try to pull these folks together to actually accomplish something. Problem is, and I've told Wes Donahue, I'm like, you're wasting your time with them. Keep trying, but you're wasting your time, because they want to be in control. I mean, we've tried. We have reached out and tried. If you want to close primaries, we could have had it, but the Freedom Caucus refused to even participate and help. Remember, because we were going to have closed primaries by doing a caucus system where the GOPs would have elected. I can assure you, if we had won reorg and the state executive committee and it had already had a vote to do caucus, they would have called a special session to close our primaries, to change the law and take it away from us doing it and picking the candidates to run as Republicans. They would have given us what we wanted. But I asked, and then I had other people ask, just so they couldn't use the excuse, we just said no because of Jeff. But I mean, they could have helped us accomplish winning reorg. The funny thing is, and as I've always said and kind of justified it, the Freedom Caucus is working with Drew and his people, as opposed to with the Rhino side. There's politics makes strange bedfellows.
Yes.
And actually, Olga kind of brought it up today, because she was looking at, I guess, something with, make sure we spelled this lady's name right, LaDonna Riggs. She's the secretary of the SCGOP. She is the paid person for the SCGOP that was harvesting ballots over here in the real fraud of 2021. Her name's not in the report, but it says she was the paid person that was working for them. Well, Olga, to make sure we spelled the name right, looked her up on Facebook, and then she looks over at me. She goes, "LaDonna Riggs supported Diane Mitchell in the runoff, or in the House 21 race. Why would you think Drew's person,
Paid employee
paid employee of the
and a
SCGOP,
big ally and fan.
is supporting a Freedom Caucus candidate? Allegedly, they're supposed to not be getting along. Drew's supposed to be establishment, right?
Yep.
He's
an establishment.
well, he
plays
is.
both
He
sides.
is. He played. They all play both sides. I get it, but it just shows you the pressure they needed to get. They needed to keep our person out, so they were supporting Steve Dale. They were supporting somebody that was probably just against us. But I mean, LaDonna Riggs is supporting, Diane Mitchell. Maybe you can say they're friends, female thing. I don't think that's it, because I've seen them working with Drew way too much. And that's who you can't build a conservative coalition in partnership with Drew McKissick, and I'm like, that's what they're trying to do. but they're lying to everybody and not being honest about it. So, I mean, and actually, if you look back at the Spartanburg convention back in April of this year, they had a choice for president of the convention. It was Josiah Magnuson versus our Ray Sheen from here in Greenville County. You know, they know Ray, and Ray's pretty good at it and all this stuff. But Josiah wanted to be the president, and guess who Josiah wanted to be as their parliamentarian? He wanted LaDonna Riggs. I'm like, this is in 25. LaDonna, and Josiah knows, everybody knows, LaDonna Riggs helped with the cheat in 21.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, why is Josiah working with the secretary of the SCGOP, who is probably she is probably one of the worst of the rhinos in that group. I mean, she will lie, cheat, steal. I will tell you how we voted her out of her precinct in 21. They were all sitting at their reorg meeting. So say this is a group here. We got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. She was the former EC. So they're having a vote. There's 10 of us.
Wasn't her husband counting?
Maybe it was her husband counting her, whomever. Whoever's counting, one of the two of them. They counted that raised finger. The vote was 6 to 5. There was like 10 people. Somebody noticed there was 10 people. It was like, they miscounted on purpose. They literally miscounted and added an extra vote. This is the good Christian woman, LaDonna Riggs. You know, and I'm sitting here, you know, you people, this is the same thing that happened. And we had this conversation with another chair of one of the local counties this morning. At our 4th district convention for the 4th congressional district, it was Spartanburg and Greenville people. All 7 districts had. This was to elect leadership for the 4th congressional district. Voted Nate out, he was gone, and also to vote in delegates for the national convention up in Milwaukee. So this is the last April of 24. So it was before the 24 convention in June or July. We're all in there voting, and we spent 20 or 30 minutes wasting time on it because the vote count was off, and it was like always off by like it was either 1 or 2. And we're like,
We had too many votes.
we had more votes than we had eligible delegates. And it's like we're sitting there going, you know, wait a second. And normally, you know, they do that to take advantage of the inexperienced ones. We used to be inexperienced. We're not, you know, we're not that as inexperienced as we used to be. So we obviously said, well, everybody stand up, and then we counted, and we can't, you know, and it's like, okay, well, that's the number of voters, but let's have the vote again, off by 1 again, 1 extra vote. Do you know who it was? Was it just Hal, or was Hal and his girlfriend?
I don't know. They were both there. I don't know whether they were.
It was Hal Roach, who was the former parliamentarian of Greenville County. Actually, they used him as the parliamentarian at Anderson's convention. I'm like, are you insane? Why are you doing this? You know, but he understands it. They had their convention the same night. He's an attorney, so we've dealt with him. He's very extremely nasty. But he was voting. He didn't think anybody would notice. And the votes were close because, you know, it was just the way it was spread. It would be close today, but you know, we had to make sure we got our people there and all that kind of stuff. We fixed that problem for going in the future in the 25 reorg. But you know, it was close, and that 1 vote was right there at the difference. And we're sitting there going, yeah, something's wrong. That guy was literally up there voting. And, you know, of course, we've had him and his girlfriend leave the room once we determined it was them that were up there doing it. They are liars and cheats. I'm sorry. You know, you may not like it. It may seem rude. Don't lie and cheat. But then they'll accuse us of lying and cheating. I'm like, oh, what have we done? I mean, I've literally said, I've seen them talking about how now we do what we accuse them of harvesting ballots and doing all that stuff in 21. This big report. They now accuse us of doing it. I'm like, how do we do it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you know, we have reorg on one day. We had between reorg and makeup, we had nobody. We did the makeup, and then we told people, hey, come up and fill out a Form 1. And we'll take all callers. You know, yes, you had to come here. You didn't, you know, maybe that's the thing. I'm too scared to walk in that office because they got guns and they'll shoot. You know, that they would use that as an excuse, but you know, we don't think we have guns. But maybe I shouldn't say that one way or the other. But they say that was harvesting ballots. I'm like, we're allowed. They're literally, the SCGOP is doing it right now. Last night was the Pickens reorg makeup meeting.
Yep.
So now it's all done. Except they are going to let people continue to fill out. The SCGOP is letting them fill out Form 1s. You can get them, and our people over there, fortunately, the state party has given them some Form 1s to be able to sign people up until the rule ends that you can't sign up people more than 5 days before convention. That's what we did. We wanted anybody and everybody that wanted to come to the convention to come sign up. I mean, the other side didn't participate in our reorg, so we knew we had the numbers, so it didn't really matter. But I mean, we wanted and we highly encouraged people to come up here and sign up. So, that's not cheating, but they accuse us that was cheating. I mean, the SCGOP is doing it right now. It's part of the rules. It's the way it should be. You can't make it to the makeup
spirit
meeting.
of the rule, right?
Well, I mean,
that's what they say.
It's rules for me, not for thee, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, but you just can't blindly make a statement like that. That's why I'm trying to get in touch with the Hutchins to figure out, hey, what's so radical about what we're doing? We're trying to make a better Greenville County. That's my interest in Simpsonville. Literally there was some lady on the social media down there saying, what does the Greenville GOP want with Simpsonville? Why are you going to sell our art center and our activity center? I'm like, what? I know nothing about your art center and your activity center, but who's selling it? In Chad O'Rear, the city council member down there, literally came on. There's no discussion about selling the art center. But that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to rally up the Democrats, the art crowd, that we were coming down there to destroy their art program.
I will tell you, whatever that thing is, that hand,
that is
that alien looking thing, that thing's got to go.
It's a tad bit on the bizarre.
It's weird. It's not, doesn't represent anything, and I understand it. It is Mayor Shoemaker's brother-in-law or brother or something, but that's what I heard. That's only
Did they pay for it? Did they?
Well, that's the question.
Okay.
Who paid for that? Now, I'm sure it was donated, but who paid to have it delivered from wherever it came from?
Sure,
and the installation. And
let me tell you how a story of what we used to do representing clients. We had very wealthy clients, all into art. So what we would do, and this may be part of that deal that they have, I don't know. Maybe it's a permanent donation or permanent gift to the city, I don't know. But we would actually take art. So you own a piece of art worth $10,000. We would donate it or put it on loan with the local Atlanta museum. They would leave it on loan, for a year, and then our client would donate it officially to the museum. Well, after a year, and after being on site at the Atlanta Museum or Museum of Art or whatever, Metropolitan Museum of Art or whatever they call it down there, I can't remember. Then it was worth, instead of the $10,000, it was now worth $50,000, and we get a $50,000 tax deduction. Because after a year, it cures itself from a tax perspective. So we did that all the time. Imagine my piece of art has been displayed in front of the brand new Simpsonville City Council. Now it may be worth a whole bunch. Maybe instead of donating in the beginning, I just put it on loan, then I donated it. I don't know if y'all are 501c3. I'm sure they have some associated C3 entity, and then you get a big massive tax deduction for it. Because it's now, what it looks like, right?
it's terrible.
Well, I know, but you now know it. Whether you like it or don't, you know it, you have something. If it was sitting in a warehouse somewhere or in some dude's house, nobody knows that the value doesn't go up. So there's a whole lot of these types of games they can play. So that's where you kind of figure that stuff out. So, all right, what else? Who's got something good? Yes, sir. Oh yeah, I forgot. We got to talk about this.
I'll be quick. I just need a good, bad answer.
Yes.
I've gotten a couple of solicitations, very attractive, from Doge SC Ron Reddy.
Yes.
Know anything about him?
When they first got on the scene, sounds great, right? Doge, everything Doge. I mean, everybody loves Doge, right? I mean, fine, waste, fraud, and abuse, it's great. I have spoken with Mr. Reddy. He is maybe 30 minutes an hour. I don't know how long. He did hire some kid before I talked to him. I did ask that kid some very challenging questions, as for example, you are dating, you work for AFP, they were against Trump. What's the deal there? I asked him a question about the fact that he was dating and or engaged to one of the girls that works for the SCGOP. Yeah, I don't trust those people. I mean, I'm sorry. And the kid literally hung up on me in 4 minutes. He was like, "You weren't going to have this conversation with me." I'm like, "Why not?" I'm like, "You want to represent Doge, SC, and do all this." Now he's subsequently no longer with them. They got some other kid. I don't,
This was a recent.
Yes, but they are spending a lot of money. Mr. Reddy has voted in, from what I recall, one primary in the past 10 years, 20 years, whatever. He's donated to Merle Smith on his donation things. He did give about $1 million to Trump the day that Nikki got out of the race. He was a Ron DeSantis person before that has a house there that sold Palms, I think. Right there where it gets a lot of runoff. But he was doing fundraisers for DeSantis. He's on some board, I think, with DeSantis's wife down in Florida. So he's telling me all this type of stuff. Like, I'm like, you're not impressing me because I don't really, I'm not, super excited about it. I like DeSantis, but somebody got in his ear to run against Trump. Trump wanted to do it. I think you had to get behind him, let the guy do it. But somebody got in DeSantis' ear. And, but, of course, when things changed, Trump jumps on, but he didn't wait. And I asked him about it. I said, well, I see, he was trying to tell me how much he did for Trump. And I'm like, I saw the donation, but it was, he donated the day that Nikki Haley got out, or Wall Super Tuesday or whatever. And he goes, how do you know that? Well, FEC.gov. I mean, it's not, he's not that experienced, which is okay. A guy with a bunch of money is okay, but then he's now gone and hired some folks. So some of the people, Wes Donahue is one. I mean, I've got no particular issues with Wes Donahue, but his group, Push Digital, I mean, who did they work for? Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott. He's part of that whole machine. Now, there's a lot of things we can work with these folks to understand, and maybe, it's like all this stuff. We got to talk to people and figure things out and find out what the right routes to go. We just don't, you were on Push Digital and you work for Lindsey and Tim Scott, so you're bad. I'm going to oppose everything you do. You can't be that way to the extreme. But we have to question things and ask a lot of stuff. But he said, we're coming up with a lot of policy state stuff. And I asked him, like, well, who are these people you're talking to? Ron Reddy wouldn't tell me. I'm like, if you're not going to tell me who your policy people are that you're getting advice from, then there's more red flags going on. So he's saying a lot of the right things. I think we can utilize some of the things that he's doing to further, and maybe working cooperation to further some things that we want to do. Judicial reform is something he's picked up.
This whole thing is on judicial reform.
We support judicial reform. If he wants to throw a bunch of money at it, let him. But just because they say the right things, don't mean they're always there. Same thing with the Freedom Caucus. I would say the same thing with us, me, whatever, what we're doing. But question me. I've got no problem with, if you want to question, that's why we do all this type of stuff out. Ron is not necessarily doing that yet. The Freedom Caucus is certainly not doing that. So, that's, you have to be transparent about it. Now, if it's money coming out of Ron Reddy's pocket, that's one thing. It's dark money in the sense that, well, it's not dark money because we know it's probably coming from him. Rumor is he's a billionaire. I don't know if he's truly a billionaire. He's got a $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million house on the island. Most billionaires have something bigger, but he's probably got a couple $100 million. Who knows? But he is going to probably spend a lot of money, muddy the waters, confuse things. I highly suggested to him. I said, if you really want to be a force, go in there and say, hey, I'm going to back and do some stuff. I want to get everybody around the table. I want all these different groups to sit around instead of the circle firing squad. I'm going to say, sit your happy ass here, or my word. I'm going to sit your butts here, and let's talk. I wish Ron Reddy had done it. Maybe it's not his issue. Maybe he's weak on the pro-life issue. I wish Ron Reddy had said, I want to protect life. I want to get all these people here. I think Ron Reddy should have said, I want to get all the people that are supporting, judicial reform around the table. Let's all sit there and talk. He talked to somebody. I don't know who he talked to. He didn't invite us, which is fine, but he did. I'm like, we are, the biggest county. I mean, I don't really care. I'm not, whatever. He probably didn't like my, saying these types of things. I'm just not going to automatically bow down to it. I have had a lot of people question what SC Doge is, who knows. I mean, I have heard that Rom is thinking about running for governor. Who knows? I would probably discourage it. South Carolina is a weird enigma. You kind of got to be from here. And it was funny, kind of Mike Burkholdt. You heard him in the beginning. He has to say that he's originally from South Carolina, grew up here, because he looks like a Texan. So he kind of dresses in the mustache and all that stuff, which I love. But he said that was one of the first things he said. And he said it comes up a lot on the campaign trail. And I can see a lot of people saying, are you really from here? That type of Rom for sure is not from here. And I don't know all of his history and background and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, he's new to it. They are going, the political establishment consultants are going to rake every dollar they can get out of the guy. And as I think it was either him or maybe it was Joe White I was speaking. It's one of the two. I said, you're going to, he's like, oh, I don't really have the power to, do some of the things that you're saying. I said, well, you do, because you're going to muddy the waters up and people aren't going to understand. And, you ought to be working cooperatively. And what you can do, what a guy like that can do, is tell people to sit around and, bring them to the table. And has he tried to bring people to the table? No. So our goal is to bring people to the table. I don't know when we're going to have the power, when we're going to be politically feared enough to be politically respected to get people to come sit at the table. At least you were able to get somebody from the other side, but of the other groups that are out there on the pro-life side to come speak to us. But that didn't give me a response to my text. So I'm like, really? Can't we keep it going? But they don't want to keep it going because guess what? If they keep the conversation going, they're going to realize we're right, and they're not going to be able to deny it. You can't. And I look at things mathematically. I mean, we're looking at 1 + 1 = 2. They're sitting there trying to tell us, Common Core, 1 + 1 = 65. And I'm like, if we sit down and discuss, we're eventually going to they're going to have to say, you're right. That's what they're going to eventually have to say. That's why they won't sit down and discuss. Which takes us to
We have 10 minutes. Speed up, Ray.
Quick, Ray, quick.
But S323 got killed in subcommittee this week.
I'll talk about that first. It was 3-2 with 4 senators abstaining, even though the whole purpose of being on this subcommittee was to vote.
So there's a subcommittee made of 9 members, 3 Democrats, 6 Republicans, and they killed Cash bill.
Yes.
3 Democrats voted against it. Cash and Senator Tom Fernandez of Berkeley voted for it, and 4 senators voted against it.
No, well, they abstained.
Oh, I'm sorry, they abstained. So they only counted the people that voted. The 4 abstentions were.
Well, Corbin is important because he's one of ours. And just a couple of weeks ago at the Greenville Legislative Delegation Committee, he actually told me he was proud of the work I was doing. And so, watch what they do, not what they say.
And Corbin did talk about his concern in regards to a First Amendment issue of not being able to talk to somebody about it. That would potentially be a crime. And there is what's called a segregation clause. Is that a proper term? If the court finds anything unconstitutional in part of a bill, they can cut that out. The rest of the bill stands.
Yeah,
so there's a clause that's in
the
there.
bill was worded so that if any one aspect of the bill was questioned and went to court, that the rest of the act would still take effect.
Right.
And that, I believe that the history we had with the heartbeat law is a big reason why that was put in, because the heartbeat law was challenged twice and won both times. So, and then the entire heartbeat bill was held in abeyance until the courts got around to it. So yeah, Cash's and McCravy's bills both had that clause in it. So if any part of the act was challenged as being unconstitutional, that everything else would still apply.
Which is what they did with the ESA bill that they found unconstitutional for, I think, the fourth time, but there was parts of it that were constitutional. Giving money to kids to go from this public school to that public school was constitutional because it was public schools.
Yeah.
It wasn't no other private schools.
And I don't want to go too far off topic, but I think that's one of the weaknesses of Harris's bill is he does not have that clause in his bill.
I'm surprised he doesn't. I mean, every bill should have it in there.
Yeah.
So.
But
But realize what and I'm not talking to Senator Corbin about this, but I mean, when somebody then finds something to nitpick, I don't think his issue was the First Amendment.
no.
I think his issue was, didn't want to vote for it.
And another disturbing.
But they all told us, all of them, because we broadcasted, and I sat here for the whole 3.5 hours. They all talked about how they fought for every pro-life bill. But let me tell you my problem here.
Yeah, and the other disturbing betrayal was Levin, because he actually, he actually ran against Senator Sin on grounds.
Lieber was a first-term House member. Senator Sandy Sin was part of the
sinister sisters, or whatever you want to say.
Senate sisters or whatnot. He ran against her for the Senate because of her vote on the pro-life bill, and then he abstains from voting for the pro-life bill.
And those two votes was all it would have taken. And it's not like this is that, if we had gotten the 5 votes, the next step would have the governor sign it. It still has to go before the the medical affairs committee, and then it goes to the Senate floor, and then of course it has to go to the House. So
the chances of it getting through were, this was just a provisional step. It would have been changed certainly in full committee. It would have changed on the Senate floor. It would have changed when it got to the House committee, subcommittee, and then changed in the committees, changed in the House, and then it would have gone back to some sort of negotiation. So what these gentlemen really did was kill it early versus let it go through the process.
Yeah.
I might not have agreed with every single word and term and know it still needs some work, but you can pass it on up to keep the momentum going. They chose, probably because some people got in their ear, and chose to kill it at the subcommittee level. The Democrats celebrated. Planned Parenthood celebrated. They're all up in arms.
I'm sure hell got a little bit less disturbing for Margaret Sanger too, because basically those opposed to the bill were saying what she's been saying all along: man has no right to oppress a woman. And that was the main argument: is woman could actually go to jail for killing her own child.
And I had this conversation with somebody the other day that's very influential. They were curious about our position because we did sign on with whatever
Dr. Clark.
Dr. Clark with personhood's bill and all that kind of stuff, personally, and as the GOP, because I think we all support it. I don't want to see a woman go to jail for 30 years for having an abortion. I don't think we need to be punishing people in that respect. That's maybe 20 years is what the possibility is. Unless it is the situation which you saw go on at the DNC, the Democratic National Convention. Women were literally going out, getting pregnant, to go into that van or RV to have an abortion, to come out and say, I killed a baby and I support abortion. That's pretty darn blatant and disgusting.
And there are women that are being coerced, but coercion is a defense for a woman. But I can tell you, standing outside the abortion clinic twice a week, that some women come in looking scared and they leave crying. We get some of them, but we also get women who actually speed up, like they're and come close to us like they're trying to run us over, speed up, flip us to bird, roll down the whittle, call an expletive, and then repeat the process when they leave. I mean, you're actually degrading women by saying that all women are oppressed. It's like, no, some of them are full capacity, some of them are scared, some of them are proud, some are coerced. I mean, it runs the full gamut. This morning I wrote a letter. I've already had 2 positive responses, and a third person asked a question about it, basically calling out everyone who opposes this bill as being hypocrites. Like you said, this bill had a long way to go. Now it's not the time to argue over short details. Now it's the time to take action. There could have been discussion at the Medical Affairs Committee, on the Senate floor, at the House of Representatives. We didn't need to say, well, this bill has a couple flaws, so let's just kill it. That's not the way the legal process in this country was intended to be run.
But this is how politics are played.
Yeah.
The other side on the pro-life movement got into pro-life folks' ears, said, we will cover you. We need you to kill this bill in subcommittee. We will come out and support you. That's what has happened.
Yes.
And we saw it.
Yes.
So.
And do I have a couple more minutes? Okay. I also want to talk about, there was a shooting last Friday in Columbia at the Planned Parenthood clinic.
And this man helped kill it too. This certainly did not help.
I saw the video, and I've heard only a couple details since then. What the video appears to show is two men were standing close together, apparently having a heated discussion. One man who I believe was a pro-lifer took out a thing of mace and squirted in the other guy's eyes. The guy backed up but didn't leave, and then he and one of his friends started chasing the guy with the pepper spray. Then a fourth gentleman, who you actually see with the gun, shows up. At that point, the video goes black, but you hear the gunshot. It's my understanding there were 2 guns involved. It's my understanding the one who actually shot is Mark, and he's from Moment of Hope. He was a pro-lifer.
It's hard to tell who actually fired it.
Yeah, because the video went black at that point.
Yeah. Well, I've actually seen the full video.
Oh,
Even looking, the girl, I think her name is Jenny Fox, was holding a weapon in the back, but it looked like she was pointing too high, and the guy grabbed the back with his leg.
Yeah.
So, but
Could be as many as 3.
Twisting around. So
Could have been as many as 3 guns out there then.
there were definitely 2, because you could see 2.
Yeah.
The pro-lifers were the ones that had the guns. So my first thing when I heard about it, I reached out to Ray, and said, "What are we doing? Do our people have guns out there? Because we've never talked about it. I think that kills.
No one I'm aware of has a gun out there. Certainly the ones that are out there regularly. None of us have weapons that are out there regularly. Some of these fly-by-night groups that come by cause a big stink and then leave, and then leave us with the mess, because now the law thinks that everybody out there is nuts instead of just the pro-aborts, because we get nuts that travel all over the country. We'll stop by periodically, just enough to give the pro-life movement a bad name. I can't talk to them. I haven't seen anything anyway.
Picture with the head of a Moment of Hope and whatnot, who they have a big RV out there that they give free ultrasounds, hoping that the woman will come see, that there's data out there. If you see the ultrasound, you see the baby, you will, decide not to have the abortion.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what they're doing and their mission is great, but they're getting a tad bit more on the confrontational front. And in some respects, the guy was walking up and talking to him, but he has his hands in his pocket, and Mark pulls out pepper spray and shoots him in the face.
Yeah.
And the guy then naturally chases him down
and
they get him to a ruckus.
And again, we're stuck with the consequences of this. Kawani
I can
is
assure you, the other side of the pro-life movement, the more moderate side, went to those senators and said, "Look what's going on. We need to kill this now, and we'll financially, because they've got money,
Yeah.
we'll financially support you and back you on all this." So those politicians are more politically feared of Citizens for Life and these other groups than they are us.
We need to work on changing that dynamic. If, as a pro-life community, we need to work on changing that dynamic, or we're just have a bunch of self-righteous people patting themselves after the back, crying because there's still abortion, yet they're sabotaging every effort to put an end to it.
And who's one of the big donors to those groups? You see the big $25,000 check Lindsey Graham writes to them, and that kind of stuff. So Lindsey has not written us up a $25,000 check yet.
We found out that
Lindsey's not writing us up a $25,000 check to go fight for S-233 either.
Yeah.
323.
And I found out some more interesting information because of the things that did happen at our own clinic when Sarah Beth got arrested, is that the judge who said that an order will be written and provided to us identifying what Kiwani can and can't do at the clinic, apparently he was talked to the last few days and says he can't remember if he wrote the order or not. This is the result of crazies coming in and giving us a bad name. Because they will literally tell you you're both crazy. It's like, no, 5% of the pro-lifers are doing bad things, but they're hardly ever here. They just come here enough to give us a bad name. 95% of the trouble is coming from the pro-boards.
I don't want to tell somebody you can't carry a weapon and protect yourself, concealed, whatever. They pulled those weapons out a little early, perhaps, in my opinion. I don't really, don't want to opine too much on it without having seen all the evidence. But sadly, in what we do, we have to be better. Just like the nastiness that goes on social media, we can't participate.
Right.
We can't. I mean, I asked the question on our Signal chat, because going low and doing nasty things, and all the consultants will tell you that's the way to win an election. I'm like, you know what? It's going to be harder. It's going to be more work. We're going to have to get more people out. But I don't want to win elections that way. Steve Nail did not run a negative election. He lost by 20. Maybe if he'd run more negative, he could have won. It really, really, really sucks. In those situations, you're like, ugh, it's killing me. But Jerry Tuso did the right stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Kilgore did the right stuff. I don't think we could have overcome a 60-40 because the other guys got 60-40 too. Democrats, I think that's a city of Greenville problem. We've got to all work together to fix. But we didn't need to have to do that in Simpsonville. And we need to get in early and not do that type of stuff. So,
Right.
And taking guns and encouraging guns. I mean, I'm all about protection, and you need to have something because, God, what do you do if somebody comes out there with an automatic weapon? I mean, you need somebody that's got to be able to react.
It needs to be, the problem needs to be dealt with. You need to nip it in the bud. I mean, when 5 pro-aborts are surrounding one pro-lifer with bullhorns, and they're shouting bullhorns 2 feet from this person's ear, and the cops don't do anything. That encourages these radicals to come in. And when you get two radicals arguing, it's only going to escalate. At some point, there needs to be control. What we don't want is for buffer zones to get set up, because now we wouldn't be able to approach the woman and say, here's your options on paper. And those do work. Even one of the clinic members said an amazingly high percentage of women actually come in there getting an abortion. But even if just seeing us out there, she said a very large number of them actually change their mind and come back out. I don't have hard numbers for that, but even a worker at this place says we're making a difference.
I'm sure you are making a difference. And you need to be as close as possible.
Yeah.
They can see.
We just need to have a certain amount of civility on there. The pro-aborts have certain rights, so do we. We just need a certain amount of civility so we can do what we're constitutionally allowed to do. And drive on.
If we truly believe we're in the right, we don't need to do the tactics that they use.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's the way I feel about elections. That's the way I feel about these, I don't really consider them protests, but these advocacy things that we do out there, we do not have to do that. And I see that way too much from people who, I mean, I see it from the Freedom Caucus. They do some of the nastiest things. I made that comment on that video, responding back to to West Donahue. I said, do you think most people know that freshmen members of the Freedom Caucus don't get a vote within the caucus? And West Donahue wrote back, said, I don't think most of them know it, because I was actually in a meeting 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago about that very same topic. Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, at least you know, and we need to let the rest of the world know that these guys are really no different than leadership. They're sitting there, the little freshmen over there, and grooming them, just like Merle Smith is setting a brand new freshman and grooming them over there. So, I mean, they need to be independent thinkers. We need candidates that, like what Jerry did, he went 8 months to every single meeting. Jerry now can hit the ground running when they swear him in that first Tuesday in January, or second Tuesday in January. So that's what we need. We need candidates that are willing to run, candidates that can hit the ground running when they get elected, and we'll go out door knocking and have a little bit of money to help us. We just need a little. It's just the text and the mailers and all that kind of stuff. And Jerry was great about that. So we need to replicate that more. Thanks for that. My only question about the pro-lifer that got arrested here in Greenville for going on the property or Piedmont Women's Center. Why is she not allowed on the property? Did she do something in the past that they don't like her?
Piedmont Women's
Do
Center.
we not know?
Piedmont Women's Center is the ultimate frenemy.
Okay.
Probably more emphasis on the enemy than the friend side. They're getting more and more distant. And we're unable to exactly find out why they're so opposed to it. I mean, in one sense, I can kind of understand it, because demonstrators always bring a certain amount of controversy, and a respectable business doesn't want controversy on their on their property. So that's part of it, but I do think it's being taken way too far. We'll talk women into going to the Piedmont Women's Center as opposed to the abortion clinic, and they will send them right back, because they won't take. You have to have an appointment. They won't take show-ups. It's like you get a woman who's about ready to have an abortion. We convince her to not have an abortion and go to you instead. Why aren't you allowing them a chance?
Because that's what I understand. Because she spoke to somebody, got them to drive to turn out of the abortion clinic to go to Piedmont Women's Center.
Yeah.
And she walked onto the property to continue to talk to the lady in her car to make sure she actually went inside. And they called the cops on her.
Yes. But she was told not to do it. I had a big row with them that day about breaking the law, because
all she did was walk on their property, keep talking to her. It's not like she tried to walk inside with the girl or.
Yeah, but she crossed that line between private property and the public right of way. And she was told not to do it. And I had been arguing with them that day, not her specifically, but I believe it was her dad. In any case, the extended family. And it's like, because they were not, if they got a car to stop and another car comes in, you're supposed to let them through, because otherwise you block traffic on the street. And at one point they had traffic backed up probably a quarter mile. And they're arguing, well, I'm saving a baby, I don't care. I said, you don't have the right to break the law. We have a right to break unjust laws. I said, having a law to ensure quick, safe access on a road is not an immoral law. I mean, these are.
So there's no other place to park. So they asked him to go park in the Piedmont Women's Center.
Yeah. But at this time, they were talking on the entrance into the clinic itself, and they had traffic backed up a quarter mile because someone new came in and they wouldn't let them in. I mean, this is the insanity. This is what's given us, the pro-lifers, a bad name. But she's part of that group, and she was, I argued twice to obey the law. You have certain rights you can do, but we have to obey the law. And, we're working here to make just laws. There's no point in making just laws if anybody can just decide we're not going to follow them. So, I mean, it's this insanity that's going on. It's only a few of us, but unfortunately, the squeaky wheel gets greased, and they're a very squeaky wheel.
Well, I think the pro-life movement is one of those things, especially the battle and fight that's going on here. I know we have some people that feel very strongly about it. We have some people that are kind of in the middle. I get that too. But I think it is a very good learning example of how this whole process of legislation works. I mean, when I'm seeing, and I don't need to be judgmental of Senator Corbin, but when I see him making arguments about First Amendment, when there's a severability clause in there, and I'm like, yeah, it sounds good, it's a good soundbite, but it's really not a valid point. You know, I would say 99% of people don't realize it's not a valid point. But, you know, I'm gonna say it's not a valid point.
Well, it's not a valid point because there's at least 3 other places where that detail could be worked out. Your job was basically to say, is this a worthwhile bill to pass up? It wasn't to say whether or not this bill is perfect. Is this a worthwhile bill? And then let the other levels worry about the details.
And the other person that I will tell you, and I want to write the article of that to get, just so that we have it all documented and put it out there. You know, and you probably know this as well. But again, who are the big pro-lifers? Josiah Max is a big pro-lifer. He is the one that because I remember, you know, Jonathan Hill and those guys getting all upset at him because he did something to kill or did not put up a certain amendment on the House side of a pro-life bill that they all wanted, and he was like the traitor at the last minute on the pro-life side of it. And it's like there are sleeper agents. You know, I'm not saying that. I mean, maybe they got confused or whatever, but I will tell you, Jonathan Hill went and did a video about it, and I was pissed off at Josiah Max about it enough to do a video calling him out. So, I mean, people need to see that. A lot of people don't realize that. That's what we want to do is kind of teach. I mean, just because they say one, watch what they do, not what they do, not what they say. You know, we have to learn these tricks. You know, there are a lot of procedural tricks. There's a lot of things in there, but their job, Senator Corbin's job, and those other 3 Republicans, their job was to move the bill through the process. Not, I'm going to utilize my power at this particular level because somebody is going to back me and cover for me. I'm going to use it here to kill it. Now, the other side, of course, wants to kill it, and that's why Planned Parenthood and the Democrats were all excited. It was funny watching, they were trying to get rid of the penalties for the woman in the bill. Guess who voted to keep the penalties in there? The Democrats. The only reason the penalties stayed in there is because the 3 Democrats voted with Cash and one other person, I think, or maybe one other person to give them a majority. The Democrats wanted the penalty in there because they knew that would ultimately kill the bill. Think about that. So they voted to keep a penalty to punish a woman for 30 years because they knew ultimately that would kill it. So Cash may have been doing this all as a test to see where they could go to expose people. Who knows? There's all kinds of things that are out there. So
Well, the fight's not over, but I don't think we're going to see a better setup than what we had. So the next time, I foresee that whenever bills will continue to come, I've no doubt of that, but it's going to be harder then than it was now because we basically had Chairman Burden, the Medical Affairs Committee Burden, basically created a panel that by all should have won 5-3.
I mean,
Or
it
no,
was
6-3.
6-3. It doesn't get much better than that. 6 Republicans versus 3 Democrats, and you can't move a pro-life bill forward.
Yeah, and the chairman of the subcommittee was the man who created the bill, which is something that Cravey didn't have when his bill was heard. So, I mean, I don't see how we could have had a better setup than what we had this week.
They needed that guy sitting on the panel.
Yeah, you're fired.
That's right. All right. Just events coming up. Christmas party is on December 1st. I can't believe it's just a week and a few days away. Thanksgiving's next week. We will be here on Friday. We always do it on holidays like that because, you know, there's some people that work can't come on Fridays. And so we have newcomers and new folks. Folks tired of sitting around eating turkey or dealing with some family members. So they come here. This is the escape. So we will be here next week. Christmas party, sign up for that. It's going to be really exciting. It's over in Greer. And then what we're going to be pushing is our membership drive. Obviously we want to get our groups and people, build that up as much as we can. We will be supporting Pickens on what they're trying to do. If you know anybody in Pickens, we need to help them get people signed up to come to their county convention. You know, with those Form 1s, they will have, their convention is on December 4th. I think 5 days before that, they have to stop taking Form 1s. God only knows how many Form 1s the SCGOP could stuff after once they know, because they know the numbers, right? I mean, SCGOP knows the numbers, we don't know the numbers, so we gotta just pretend, keep fighting like we're behind, like we're really, really far behind. So we gotta kind of get that out there, and then we got Christmas time, and what else is coming up? Legislative season's coming up, so we're gonna be working hard on our main
We'll have a
legislative
meeting
agenda items.
First part of December, I haven't nailed it down yet, but I promise you we'll have a meeting and there'll be invite go out.
Yeah, so if there's an issue that you
No
like,
dinner in this meeting though.
no dinner?
Oh.
No leftover, Elizabeth?
No, January we'll have dinner.
Okay,
We're
January
coming
will be
anyway, don't
dinner.
worry.
You guys bring the dinner.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, bring your
McDonald's,
Yeah.
solid burgers. But you know, I mean, I think, you know, we're now past the election season. We're getting into the legislative season. Now, part of this legislative season will be, we got June 9th primaries. So we're, you know, we got to walk and chew gum at the same time. But we got to focus on that. We got to turn our focus to that. And I think some of the same tactics and tools that we use, we need to do that on the legislature. We got to get them moving along on some things. But we've got our big issues. We'll pick up other small bills. If there's anything anybody likes or is interested in that you want to be an advocate for, bring that to us and we can add that to the.
And also on the legislative meeting, don't be shy. That's part of it is to come in, get your feet wet. We have tools to help you do it. We have people with experience. Scott's worked out a great tool here.
And
We have a
awesome.
topic and we can search for bills that are coming up, so.
Yes. Which is important because I mean, they do try to slide things through and all that stuff. So I think from a bill perspective and an AI and what,
You mean to talk about
if you want to, yeah,
it? Okay, all right.
come on and tell us.
Um,
Ron Reddy is talking about all his AI stuff. I'm
All
sure it's
right,
costing him.
well, now we're gonna tell you about real AI use. Okay. So we have a process where we go out and harvest, I don't know which camera I'm talking to, but probably one there. We have a process where we go out and we harvest all the bill data on a daily basis. And we go out and look at all the bills, what's there. And then after the bills are collected, then we go out and get the text of the bill, okay? On a daily, so we can see when the bill changes, because that's important. When a House member or senator adds themselves in or removes themselves, we see it right when it happens. And this is a process I had developed, but Austin and I work closely together on different parts. So it's a combined effort. When I had got this process up and running, it was neat to see that night, 2 bills got updated. I could see what the changes were. I was like, okay, the proof of concept is awesome. Now, but that wasn't the end game here wasn't to collect all that. That's like a nice to have. What I wanted is to bring all the bills into one file to be able to put that in an AI of your choice. There's usually a cost to an AI, but it can be cheap. It can be quite expensive. Some of the stuff I'm paying for is $60 a month. But the idea is you can drop that file that you'll be able to download the file. If Austin told me correctly, you'll be able to download the file. It has all the legislation in it for that day. Okay, everything. And whatever your interest in legislation is, you can just search for it. And the way AI works is that when you put a word in, a search word in, or a phrase or whatnot, it'll interpret other meanings. And so you have to kind of play with it a little bit to get the information out. But the idea is that you're looking at legislation collectively. You're not looking at one bill or reading all the synopsises of each bill. You're looking at the whole mess each time.
Because think about it, I could do two. I want to accomplish something. If I put it in the same bill, you might be able to see what I'm trying to accomplish.
Mhm.
But if I put one piece in this bill, one piece in this bill, they both look, not a big deal.
Yeah.
But then when you put them together,
Yeah.
I might have slipped something massively through that. is not
Yeah. And
really
so
big.
what we're trying to find is what they're trying to do is strike and replace. I think strike and replace does show up on the bills. I mean, it'll be a change that happened. Let's say the bill's not touched for a month or two, then all of a sudden, boom, it changed. Well, they're not going to tell anybody that. They're just gonna keep it moving along, and this way we can track changes. And again, you download the file, throw it in AI, you can look at it, and then within the legislative committee, we can work out, hey, you want to write a bill, you want to, that's Frank's area. But the point is that on the technical side, I've made it really, really easy to see all things legislative. Now, we don't, with AI, I do want to say that if you go into Grok or some other AI and you just let it hit the internet, you're not controlling the data it's looking at. And that's why people say, well, wait a minute, this is kind of weird, or this doesn't make sense. Well, when you control the data the AI reads, and you get a better result from it.
Actually, as an example, I'm doing judicial reform, and I just put into his search engine, I guess, I put that in there, and it popped up like 10 bills to look at. So it narrows your focus down, and I was able to pick 2. And I went and talked to Professor John about whether we want to support these bills or not. So this is just about a tool to get you going forward.
Yeah.
So you can look at stuff, and then it's very overwhelming if you go to the legislative site and say, and you don't know what bill to look at. This gives you, it's a great jump.
And that's why we'll pick up some easy, simple bills that should pass, because so you can follow the process of how a bill becomes law. It's not like the wheel of cheese. There's a little bit more to it. But also, you got to dig deep. I always suggest if you really want to see how the process works, pick a topic, dig deep on it. And we know school choice, and we know it deep, and we've seen all the nastiness and all that stuff. The same thing happens in the pro-life and the other things, and we watch it all over the place. But I know it because I know what they did in school choice. I know what their processes and their procedures are to kill whatever or pass whatever they want to do. So learn it. If you just look at the big mess of it, you'll never figure it out. So pick one thing and go deep, deep, deep.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to mention is that AI isn't a replacement for reading the bill. This is to help you find the changes they make, the games they play, and
it's
then
to throw up a red flag to get you to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, and we're what we're trying to do is come up with an alert system where, now we don't have that built yet, but where this alert, like you sign up for certain alerts on bills, and then you get an alert that, hey, whoa, wait, red flag, this happened. Now, the state or VREMS, the product that they use, does have what they call the legislative tracking tool that you log in and you can look at. This is the information. This is how we're pulling the information is with that tool. So you have that available, and that's something else we want to train people on, is using the tool that's within VREMS that the state provides to pull down. Like if you just want to pull the bill information, you can, or whatnot. So, but what I wanted to say is that system has alerts built into it, and it was interesting. I signed up for every alert that I could, right? And I was expecting to get, when that bill changed, when those 2 changes I saw that night, I was expecting to get an alert on those. It did not. So they put all these alerts out, and they're great for like meetings and videos and whatnot that are coming up. But a simple bill change will not trigger an alert, which it should. I mean, so that's the game,
Or somebody turns the alert off for that night. This is what goes on. These are the games that are played. I will tell you, when we were battling with the school choice thing, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, they literally, I'm talking to the House rep. He tells me they changed it. We voted for it. And I'm like, okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad we got that fixed. I looked up on the system the next day. It had not been changed. I don't think the House rep was lying to me. And what Jonathan Hill said at the training last weekend, they lie to us, they lie to each other, they lie to themselves. There is a bureaucrat, and I like how Mike Burkholz talked about it. I mean, our House reps and state senators, they're all part-timers. They're working 3 days a week, and they got their own careers and their own stuff. There is a bureaucracy, legislative committee, I think it's a $20-some-odd million group that the former head of it was convicted as part of the Quinn thing for changing bills and doing, selling out and doing certain things. Sadly, he was a Citadel graduate, and he fought, and he's the only one that got criminal time for it under Pasco. But it's amazing what goes on. If we're not watching it, who is?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is that any House member and senator that says they didn't know what was in the bill, that's wrong. I mean, that's read the bill, and then they need to start figuring out a way to look at what the differences are, because there's too much out there for checking. I mean, AI, don't even use AI if you don't want. You can use a compare tool. You can download the old bill, download the new one, do a compare between them and go, oh yeah, this changed significantly. There's no excuse
And
anymore.
also look at it as well. Who do they probably listen to? They're listening to the lobbyists.
Yeah.
It takes them to a nice dinner, and that's who they're listening to. Oh, well, these people are more professional, not like those crazy grassroots people. I mean, we're just pulling our hair out here at times because what they're doing makes no sense. But a lobbyist will sit there and smooth talk them, and she probably looks really, really pretty.
Or they get that picture that is all innocent,
right?
But they bring someone in, that House member or senator shakes that person's hand, and the woman's a prostitute or something, and so that one photo, can be like
Lieber is sitting there, sleeping with his girlfriend. Or
well, yeah, I mean,
it's all over the place, and I think it is worse than we actually realize.
Yeah, and I'd say it'd have to. I think we all should be careful of who we shake hands with and who we stand near, because I mean, you just don't know. So anyway, okay, that's what's going on. So the legislative committee is really, really taking off right now.
We're pumping it all up,
So-
and it's time to focus on legislation, but get ready for more campaigning. So, yes, ma'am.
The meeting be over.
Are you making a motion?
I motion.
All right. No debate? We're out of here. We will see you next Friday. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Keep working. Lots of work.
Sorry.